she'd taken from her mother's sewing kit. She was almost ready to give up when she remembered the magic tree. If she could get Nancy to take her to the park where she'd gotten lost, she could take Cecil to the tree. He would take care of Cecil for her. She just knew it. So the next day, Julie asked Nancy to take her to the park. It was very early in the morning, and the mist was still on the ground. When Nancy wasn't looking, Julie ran into the forest and straight for the old tree. She picked a few daisies with dewdrop necklaces and clutched him to her as she ran. As she neared the tree, she slowed down and stopped. "Mr. Tree," she said quietly, "wake up, I've come to see you." The tree's branches rustled a happy greeting, and a big red apple dropped at Julie's feet. "Thank you," she said politely, and sat down to munch her apple. When she finished, she stood up and faced the tree. "This is my teddy bear, Cecil, Mr. Tree," she said. "He's broken, and I can't fix him, and my mom will take him away from me if she sees him. I don't want him to go in the garbage. Would you take care of him for me?" The tree's branches swayed in sympathy. Julie knelt down beside the tree's great roots and kissed Cecil goodbye. She set him gently on the ground beside the tree and laid the daisies down beside him. "I brought you some flowers, Tree," she said sadly. "Can't come back any more. I got yelled at the last time, and I'm sure to get scolded again this time. My mom wouldn't believe me if I told her there was a magic tree to protect me in the forest." A single tear ran down her cheek. "Goodbye," she said, and walked slowly back to her sister in the park. The tree's old branches drooped. His leaves paled. Some even fell to the ground. Alone again, he thought. She was such a nice little girl. I'll miss her. He stroked the teddy bear at his roots with a tender bow, sighed heavily, and went to sleep. One day, years later, when Julie was all grown up and had a family of her own, long after she'd forgotten about the magic tree in the forest, something pulled her out of her house. She walked slowly down the street. There wasn't a breath of wind in the air. The street was quiet and still. Julie kept walking and finally came to the park where she had played as a child. The park was deserted. No children played there, only the squirrels gathering nuts for the winter. Julie walked across the grass toward the edge of the forest. Something caught her eye, and she looked up with a start, surprised to find herself in the park. The thing that had attracted her attention was a small faded sign right at the edges of the trees. Where the forest started, it said, "Lot for sale." Julie and her husband had been searching for months for a lot to buy and build a house on, so she went eagerly into the forest to have a look. She walked through the trees, enjoying the sound of birds singing and leaves rustling. Leaves rustling? She wondered. But there's no wind today. She looked around. None of the trees moved at all, except one big old tree over there. She went closer. The rustling sound continued. The closer she got to this strange tree that moved without a wind, the more she felt she had been in this place before. And by the time she was 10 paces from the tree, she could see the faint line of a smile in the bark. She had remembered. "Mr. Tree!" she cried, and ran to put her cheek against the smooth, warm bark. All the happy memories of childhood came back to her. Apples and peaches falling at her feet, the rough bark that felt so warm and soft. And Cecil. Cecil. My old teddy bear. Whatever could that have to do with this old tree, she wondered. A memory of a mystery morning trip into the forest came back to her, laying Cecil at the base of this tree and leaving him there for the tree to care for. She looked down. She walked all around the tree 3 times, and on the 4th trip she noticed a small hole in the base of the tree that she hadn't seen before. Something brown and fuzzy peeked out of the hole. Julie reached down and grasped the fuzzy thing, and out came Cecil, looking as good as he had on her first birthday. "Oh, Tree, thank you," she breathed. "You are magic." The tree blushed green. Not too long after that reunion in the forest, the lot for sale sign was taken down, and a little white house appeared in the forest under the shade of a very old and very special tree. And little children once again danced and sang around him. Adults sat quietly under his leaves, enjoying the shade. and never again was the magic tree lonely.